come to item number 9 on the agenda, community loan guarantees, and I just want to check that Lee Redshaw, our investment specialist, is on the line for this item.
Good morning, Mayor Goff. Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, Lee. Can I ask Councillor Simpson to move this, and maybe Councillor Henderson to second it? This would normally have gone to F&P committee, and then we'll have Lee give an introduction. Councillor Simpson, Councillor Henderson, you happy to move and second?
Absolutely, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Lee, if you'd like to outline the paper to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goff, and good morning, councillors. I didn't expect to be back in front of you so soon regards loans and guarantees, but nevertheless, events have changed. Just to recap, the council has approximately 15 loans and guarantees, and the guarantees amount to $3.6 million. There are 5 of those, and $1.3 million worth of loans to 10 organisations. All of the guarantees are with the ASB Bank, and due to the current situation, the organisations are in discussions with their bank to look at options regards interest deferral, loan repayment, capitalisation of the interest, and deferring the actual terms of the loans. All of those discussions with the bank require further discussion with the council and approval by the council. Sorry.
Can't hear him properly.
Is that corrected? Anything?
That's better.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So all of the organisations, whilst the matter may be of small monetary value in the overall scheme for the council, each of the organisations that I've spoken to, the executives are typically volunteers and are all stressing to make sure they can save their organisations, and they want to take up the options that are
excuse me, Lee, sorry to interrupt, but I'm getting messages that, and I'm finding it myself, that you're fading at times. Can you talk directly towards the microphone so we can hear clearly?
Thank you, Mr. Goff. Yeah, I do have a headset on.
That's much better now.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I need to recap anything?
No, I think just keep going, and we'll ask questions if there's
something we
missed out on.
So all of the organisations that have guarantees, the people that have contacted me are identifying that they are stressing, they want to save their organisations, they want to take up the options from the bank.
Audio problems.
Yeah, sorry, Lee, you're fading again. I'm not quite sure. Sometimes you're coming through very loud and clear, and then you look like you've walked about 3 metres backwards from the microphone. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but if you can try to rectify it, that would be helpful.
Apologies. Look, I'm sitting still at my desk, and I have a headset on, so I'm not going very far. It may be a loose wire. I'm not too sure. Can you hear me now, Mr. Goff?
Yep. We'll keep trying, and if the problem persists, we'll get you to phone in. But
okay, thank you.
Keep trying for the moment.
Okay. So the guarantees, they need council approval of the changes that they're looking for, and the same with the loans from the council. The organisations are seeking assistance to reorganise the loans. It would normally go to the Finance Committee for approval, and so what we're looking for is largely a procedural matter of delegating the approval to change the terms and conditions to the GCFO and the Group Treasurer, and to document them accordingly, and then we will report back to the committee at the end of the lockdown period, or even at the end of COVID, lockdown 1, and explain the delegations that we've exercised. Any questions?
Thank you, Lee. Yeah, you're still coming and going. I'm getting most of it, and I hope that other members of the committee are. So we'll just open it up. Maybe if I start with the Chair of Finance and Performance Committee, Desley Simpson, and then Shane Henderson, if you have any questions at this point.
Look, I might just help. It was a bit unclear, so I just might help simplify it if I may, through you, Mr. Chair. And that is basically most of these were pre-amalgamation. There have been a few since. Not everyone needs to take it up, but what we do need to do is we need to proactively get a process where we can react quickly for the organisations that need this help, all right? So that's exactly what it is. Everything that is done will be legally written down, and the whole report will come back to finance and performance when we get out of this crisis. But we absolutely need to be able to work quickly and effectively and efficiently in reacting to the loans or guarantees request should they all come through. Thank you.
Thank you, Desley. That was loud and clear. Is there anything, Councillor Henderson, you want to add to that?
No, that's perfect. Yeah, it is fairly procedural. So yeah, I voiced that.
Okay, I think on this paper it is quite straightforward. Maybe we can do questions and comments together. I'll give that a trial, and I think, yeah, if you've read the paper, you'll understand pretty much what it's about. It's not involving a big sum of money, but it is necessary to be able to respond quite quickly, and that's why we need to delegate the authority. So we'll start at the top of the list. Deputy Mayor Cashmore.
No questions, no comments. So clear. Thank you.
Councillor Bartley.
Nothing from me, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Casey.
No, I'm all good, Phil.
Thank you. Councillor Collins.
No thanks.
Councillor Coombe.
No questions or comments, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Cooper.
No, I've read and understood, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dalton.
No questions.
Councillor Darby.
No, thank you.
Councillor Philippina.
All good.
Councillor Fletcher.
Nothing.
Councillor Henderson.
Still nothing.
No, still nothing. I've been to you before. Councillor Hills.
No, nothing from me. Straightforward. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Kake.
So talk.
Thank you. Councillor Mulholland.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Newman. Councillor Newman, are you on the line to us? Might have gone for a cup of tea. Councillor Sayers.
No questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. We've heard from Councillor Simpson. Councillor Stewart.
No, all good, thank you.
Thank you. Chair Taipare.
Nothing from me, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Walker.
All good.
Thank you. Councillor Watson.
Fine, thanks.
Councillor Young.
Nothing from me, thank you.
Thank you. Well, look, that's excellent. So thank you very much, Lee, for that, and sorry about the sound quality that you were suffering from there. It's been moved and seconded. I think I can take this one on the voices. All those in favour, please say aye.
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 To the contrary, no.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you very much. Now we move to probably a slightly more complex question, but I think we've had some discussion on this already with the public input. It's the approval, item 10, approval of Auckland Regional Amenities Funding Levy for 2021. I'll just check that I've got Josie Muley and Alistair Cameron on the line. Have we got both of you there?
Mr. Mayor, it's Alistair here. I'm here.
Okay, and Josie, are you with us?
I'm here, Mr. Mayor, but Alistair's leading this report today.
Okay, so it's Alistair's fault. We'll come to Alistair in a moment. Councillor Simpson, I'll ask you to move, and I'll second the approval of the levy.
I'm happy to do that. Thank you.
And I will second that. And just to reiterate to councillors, I did spend quite a lot of the last 2 days working with members of the Amenities Board and the Funding Board to get to a position where this is not an issue as it might have been, that would have gone to arbitration and we would have spent tens of thousands of dollars on legal fees. This was a matter resolved by common sense between the Amenities Board, the Funding Board, and Councillor Simpson and myself, where we've reached the position that given the challenges that we face financially and acknowledging the challenges that the amenities themselves have because they've lost income, we have agreed that the most equitable position would be not to increase and not to decrease, but simply to maintain through 2020-21 the level of funding we had in the previous year, and that contributes something over $1 million towards the savings that we need, which might be as high as 250 million. So, Alistair, I'll get you to introduce the paper, and you can talk about some of the other aspects of it as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, first of all, the apologies for the lateness of the report getting out. As you've already indicated, there's been a lot of discussion over the last couple of days, and in fact, we only received a letter from the chair of the Regional Amenities Funding Board last night, sort of confirming that the position that we've reached, and I circulated that letter this morning. Just to give a bit of background on this, the Regional Amenities Funding Act allows the 9 amenities to apply for funding. Due to the legislation, those funding applications were made in October last year, when the world was quite a different place. So the original draft funding plan proposed by the funding board was to ask for funding in the order of $16.7 million, which was an increase of 1.2 million or 7.8% from last year. Now, two things have happened since that draft funding plan was presented to Council. One was, as was indicated by the Mayor, the impact of COVID-19 on the finances of both the amenities and Council. And as a result of that impact and discussions with the funding board and the amenities, there's been an agreement to reduce the request, so to maintain the funding as the current financial year. The second thing that has happened is that at a national level, the Coast Guard Northern Region has merged with, or will merge on the 1st of July with the other regional Coast Guard bodies and Coast Guard New Zealand, so that there will just be one body for all of New Zealand. What that means in terms of the Funding Act is that Coast Guard New Zealand is not eligible for funding under the legislation. However, staff, we're recommending that Auckland Council continue to fund Coast Guard New Zealand for an amount equivalent to what the funding board assessed that Coast Guard Northern Region would have required for the coming year. We're proposing that that funding of $824,000 per annum be for a 2-year period to allow Coast Guard New Zealand the time to investigate either rejoining the ERAFA regime, which could either require legislative change, or for Auckland Council to invite them to change. Either option requires time to sort that out, or for a direct, more longer-term direct funding arrangement to be entered into with Council. So the net result of those two changes is that staff are recommending that funding be provided at the same level as was in the current financial year, to be made up of a $14.68 million contribution to ERAFA to distribute to 8 amenities now, and for $824,000 per annum be provided to Coast Guard New Zealand. Look, I think I'd just like to say that there's been a lot of sort of constructive dialogue with the ERAFA board and the amenities. We acknowledge that the financial impact of COVID-19 on the amenities is they're going to be hit pretty hard, as has Auckland Council, but I think that the outcome is prudent, responsible and pragmatic on all parties' behalf. Happy to take questions.
Thank you very much for that, Alistair. I think we could probably on this paper run questions and comments together as well. This paper might have been much more difficult, but for the readiness of the Amenities Board and Matt Williams and the funding board, Anita Colleen. to be really understanding of council's position and to be cooperative in saying we're all in this, we all face challenges, but this is our contribution, and not to try to force it through a legal channel. And I really appreciate that. I had some really good conversations across the board with different amenities and members of the funding board, and I think we've got to a very good position. But perhaps if we do comments and questions together, and perhaps if I can start with the chair of the Finance Committee, Councillor Desley Simpson.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. Well, having moved it, I think everyone's pretty clear where I sit in it. I want to add to your thanks to the amenities and the funding board for their understanding of the extraordinary circumstances council finds itself in as a result of COVID-19, and I think we're all in a good place. I want to remind councillors that there are some legal obligations around this. They could have asked for a lot more. So I think everybody, both the amenities themselves, both boards, etc., need a huge, a note back thanking them, to be honest, if this goes through. Your Worship, wouldn't at all be inappropriate.
No, be very happy to take up that advice. Okay, let's run through our list again. Deputy Mayor Cashmore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Desley. I quite agree with Desley. A note of appreciation for the funding board and the management board's attitudes towards our circumstances currently would be highly appropriate. It is good to see that there's a degree of collaboration in this area, so that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, and it won't have escaped anybody's attention that we'll also next be dealing with the museums, and they have similar arbitration provisions if they were to insist on them. But I think a very good precedent has been set by the Amenities Board and the Amenities Funding Board, and we would hope that across the board we can endeavour to meet our savings targets, given our huge loss of revenue, by this sort of cooperative and collaborative approach. Councillor Josephine Bartley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing from me, just to thank yourself and Councillor Simpson and the ARAFA board members for getting to this stage.
Thank you, Councillor. Much appreciated. Councillor Kathy Casey.
I'd just like to echo my thanks, but also, Alistair, I think I read in Anita Killeen's letter that the board have also said that they will freeze their current rates of remuneration. Is that correct?
That's correct, Councillor.
Thank you. Well, that's to be noted as well, and any note of thanks. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think the spirit of people understanding the reality of the crisis that we're in and cooperating towards it is something that we can be really proud of. Councillor Collins.
None from me, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Coon.
No questions or comments, but just to add my thanks as well for the work that's gone on behind the scenes to get this to a sensible place. Kia ora.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cooper.
Kia ora. I think what this shows is, we've been asked by our ratepayers to decrease the rates take, and this is outside the average rates take that we do, and this will make a difference for people with their decreased income. So I really applaud the ARAFA board for realising that and coming to the party.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dalton.
Yeah, just well done to everyone. I'm really impressed. No questions.
Thank you. Councillor Darby.
Yeah, similarly acknowledging the ARAFA board. Thank them.
Thank you. Councillor Filipaina.
Just acknowledge your work in the ARAFA board, but Your Worship, I think it's important that the comms that go out about this, the people are acknowledged in regards to where we've come to.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. The letter of thanks and the comms to say this is the spirit in which we intend to tackle the deficit that's been created by a major loss of revenue. I think it's it sets a standard and we should all follow it. Thank you very much for that. Councillor Chris Fletcher.
Nothing, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Henderson.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to echo my thanks to the ARAFA board, to staff, but also to acknowledge your hard work as well, Councillor Simpson. I know you worked a lot on this as well. So, yeah, thanks everybody, and delighted we can get here.
Thanks, Mr Deputy.
Thank you. And Councillor Hills.
Kia ora, no, this is a really good outcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Kake.
as a recipient of the services alike, you have my support.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mulholland.
Kia ora, Mr Mayor, and to all, it just shows how working together in collaboration can get a good outcome. So thank you also to Councillor Simpson for her work on this as well. Kia ora.
Thank you very much. Councillor Newman.
Yes, a couple of I have one question from me, and thank you to the officers for the work that's taken place here. With respect to the specified amenities, I think the Auckland Rescue Helicopter Trust in particular has been very successful for a number of years in being able to organise sponsorship to cover its costs, and it really has been a bit of a standout in terms of being able to wipe its face by comparison. But I think moving forward, they're going to be in quite a marginal position. So I'm anticipating that their call on as a specified amenity relative to the other amenities who have been recipients of very large sums of money here for quite some time, the Rescue Helicopter Trust position could change to the point where they too need to really get an increase in the quantum of funding. What work is being done with the trust to ensure that that the support can be signalled moving forward? Because I just don't believe that in 12 months' time that things are going to be able to turn around for them.
Thank you for that. I did talk to the acting CEO of the Helicopter Trust, Michelle Bogue, yesterday. Had quite a long conversation with Michelle. She understood the position that Council was in. Like the other members of the amenities board that I talked to, they've all got a story to tell. The services they provide are valuable to us. The access that they'll have to other bodies like the Lotteries Board, Foundation North, etc., that's going to take a blow. And for some of those organisations, the fact that they can't go out and hold public events like the APO or Opera, they're going to take an even bigger blow. So really to acknowledge, certainly the Helicopter Trust will suffer, but as Ms. Bogue said to me, they rely less on council than some of the other bodies in terms of their total funding. But we should not diminish in any way the difficulties that each of these organisations will face, but they equally were gracious enough to acknowledge the difficulties we were facing and saying, well, look, this is no time for us to go for an increase. But those conversations, Councillor, will recommence a year hence when we've got a better idea of what our financial position is and a better idea of the position each of the amenities groups will be in at that point.
Yeah, look, I absolutely acknowledge that. I guess the point that I'm making is that the trust really hasn't been one that's had a proportionately had as significant a call on this particular regional funding as some of the others in years past. That's fine. They're not making a call this year, but I would imagine that next year it's going to get really, really tough for them as well, and so their call might be proportionate to the others. And I guess we'll have the debate then, but I can't imagine that they will be as successful in the immediate future in terms of their commercial fundraising as they have been previously, because they've been more successful than most, but I'm not sure that that's going to be the way forward for them in the immediate future.
Yeah, I think everybody will suffer in that way. Thank you for making that point. We now come to Councillor Greg Sayers.
Thank you, Worship. I'd just like to quickly add my voice to thank and acknowledge the Auckland Regional Amenities Funding Board. Also, I want to give a special thanks and acknowledgement for the hard work done by the Chair of the Finance Committee, Councillor Simpson. Also to yourself, Your Worship, for the work that you've done, and also as to all the council officers that have been involved to get this across the line. So well done, and happy to support the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Stewart.
No, thank you.
Chair Taipere.
No comments, thanks.
Councillor Walker.
No comment.
Thank you. Councillor Watson.
Yes, just my acknowledgement is of the pragmatic response the board have taken. I think there'll be a lot of other organisations that will be wishing that they were in a position to do likewise, actually, if we're going to be honest about things. And as someone else remarked, a good precedent for Auckland Council of making do with what they had last year. So I think it's a pragmatic response, and I acknowledge that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Young. Paul, have we got you on the line?
Okay. Thanks, the board and everyone, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Much appreciated, and thank you to everybody on the emergency committee for your positive comments. They were much appreciated.
Your Worship, excuse me, just before you take it to the vote, I just wondered if you would entertain, because I'd like to put up a D, that a letter of thanks go to the appropriate bodies, because we haven't actually said that. Everyone's mentioned it in their comments, and to be honest, I was probably pretty remiss not having it in the first place. Would you support that?
Yep, no, absolutely. As seconder, I'd support that. So it would be something like
request that a letter go to
a letter of thanks be sent to the regional to the amenities board and the amenities funding board for their cooperation and assistance in reaching this outcome. Does that sound right?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, even the amenities themselves, to be honest, as well.
Maybe we could say to members of the amenity board and its members, and to the funding board. That would then encompass everyone, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm just letting Sandra type that up. Probably seeing that coming on your screen at the moment, and its members and the amenity funding. Yep, that's excellent. So I think I can do this without a division.
To the amenities. Sorry, I'm just getting a grammar right, but yes.
Be sent to. Yes, sorry, you're right. Right, I think we're grammatically and otherwise accurate now on this. So I'll just take it on the voices. All those in favour, please say aye.
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 To the contrary,
Aye.
no. And can I declare that carried unanimously? Thank you very much. I think
Yes.
that's
Well done,
a really good outcome.